In this video, we'll be discussing design drafts, which is a new feature that is built into all Snow websites as long as your website is utilizing our Flex Pro website theme. Just to provide a little background information briefly, design drafts, or the concept of drafting on your website, has been a feature that has long been requested but wasn't available up until this point. In the past, if you wanted to do design work on your website, you really had two options. You could either do that design work in real time, but those design changes would also show up live to someone on your website in real time. So if someone did happen to come to your site in the middle of you doing that design work, they might have seen kind of a work in progress. It might have been a little bit messy in that interim period. The other option that you had in the past was using something that was called maintenance mode. And that feature is still available. Basically, what it did is that it blocked off your website to anyone that didn't have an actual user account. So if someone came to your website when you were in maintenance mode, they wouldn't see the design work taking place, but they also wouldn't have any access to any of the content on your website. So this new design drafts feature that we have pushed out really is the best of both worlds of both of those prior options. Now you can make design changes in the back end of your website that won't interfere with the appearance of your site live in real time. And then when you're ready, you can push it live. So let's look deeper into how that works. So to access the new design drafts feature on your website, you want to start by going to the Snow Design Options page. If you're not familiar with how to get there, just hover over Snow Dashboard, Design Options. Once you're on this page, the fourth tab down in this menu on the left should say Design Drafts, so you'll want to start by clicking into there. Here, we are now at the interface where you can start creating and working on drafts. So your first step here is just going to be to click this Create New Draft button. And then immediately a draft is going to be created for you. You'll see now that this draft has been formally created, we have some options. So the first option I would recommend is renaming the draft to something that makes more sense for you. You can do so just by clicking Rename and changing it. All right, so now my draft has been created, and the way that this draft system works is similar to like a library book system where you check things in and check them out. So although the draft has been created, to start working on it, you need to first formally check it out, which you can do so by clicking on Check Out. Drafts can only be checked out by one person at a time. So you'll notice if you do check out a draft, there will be a little label within this draft interface showing who it's currently checked out by. You'll also notice when I checked out that draft, the page refreshed, and now I have this little red alert at the bottom saying, you are editing a design draft, summer 2021 redesign. So this is basically just a constant reminder to whoever is working on the draft that you're not impacting the live site. All of the work that you're doing is currently taking place in the draft. So at this point, you're free to start your design work. You can make any changes throughout the design options page. Even if you leave the site, like if I go to the widget control panel, maybe to add new widgets to my draft, you'll notice that that red label follows you around. If we go to the live version of my site, I've still got that label saying you're still viewing the design draft. So if at any point you think you're working on a draft, but you're not seeing this label, that should be a warning to you that what you're doing might be interfering with the live version of your site. You want to make sure you're seeing this label at all times when you're working on a draft. When you're done working on a draft, going back to that library book system, you do need to come back to the design drafts interface and check it back in to save any of those changes that were made during that drafting period. You can do that just by clicking on Check In. Finally, let's say you finished your draft, it's all set to go, and you're ready to push it live to your site. All you need to do that is click Push Live here, and all of those design changes that you made in the back end of the site during that drafting period are going to be pushed live to your website. When you click Push Live here, the draft is also automatically going to disappear. So if you need to make further changes after that point, you'll need to either create a new draft to give you a new starting point or just make those changes live. But as soon as you click Push Live, the draft will disappear by default. Just a couple other notes quickly on drafting. Like I mentioned, drafts can only be checked out by one person at a time, but maybe you are doing more of a collaborative redesign on your website where one person currently has a draft checked out, but you maybe want to collect feedback in real time from other people on your web staff. So what you can do is anyone can just click on this view link, and that's going to allow them to view the draft, but it's not going to allow them to work on it. So if you do want that live feedback from someone who doesn't have the draft checked out, you do have that option just by clicking view. If at any point you want to reset the draft, that's an option right here. You can rename the draft like we did earlier. Or if you need to delete a draft, you can do that here. Two final notes. You can only have a maximum of 5 drafts created in the back end of your website at any one point. So you can never have more than 5. That's not something that's adjustable. That is a hard limit. The last point is that when you are working with a design draft, it only stores design data. So it doesn't relate in any way to the content of your website. It's not possible to work on a design draft, publish a story at that time to see what it might look like in that design draft. That content would show up live on your site. So design drafts only affect design components. They are in no way related to content. So we hope this new drafting feature gives you more flexibility and encourages you to maybe test out some of the new design tools on your site now that they are not going to interfere with the live version of your website. And if you have any questions about design drafts, as always, feel free to reach out to Snow Support and we will help you out that way.